Yo, call me a theory, what these nuts are damn near me. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Gator's Cage. Today, and only today, we are here to discuss, theorize, and see your predictions and thoughts on Sonic Movie 3. It's been about a week now since the movie came out, and God, it's been such a happy week. I've been so just happy just rewatching the show and everything, and of course, I know you guys are. So, I want to bring it to the people and ask y'all, yo, drop your theories, ideas, predictions for Sonic Movie 3 based on what we see, and let's see what kind of crazy ideas y'all can come up with. Also, if you're enjoying this, make sure to subscribe to your boy and enjoy all the content you get. Yeah. And if I don't read yours, just keep in mind there's probably a lot that are the same. So I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. And let's just talk, man. Let's see what happens. All right, let's see what the homie Salty Deacon has to say over here. So this is a theory about how they think Maria is going to die. So Gerald is about to make a specific breakthrough or scientific breakthrough with Shadow's power / energy that cures Maria's illness. Gun raid starts. They begin shutting down everything. Gerald's machines start malfunctioning and cannot maintain safe parameters. Lab explosion happens and kills Maria. She is engulfed in flames, so we don't see her dead body. Shadow tries to use chaos control and warp to save her, but he's already out of juice since he was helping power up the machine. Gun storms the lab post-explosion and apprehends Shadow and locks him away. He can't fight back because, as I say, he's out of juice. Gun indirectly responsible for Maria's death. Shadow goes on a rampage after charging in his pod for 50 years. Yeah, this is a good theory because I was setting this to when I first saw the trailer. The way it's shot, where the moment where it looks like Maria's on the gun, doesn't look like, it was like a gunshot moment. This looks like a big explosion went down, and Shadow looks helpless and okay with being caught, as opposed to, the original storyline of him, being sent down to Earth by her. I feel like this is a much different circumstance than originally, which, as long as Gun is involved with her death, I don't think it matters how exactly she dies, as long as it is caused by humanity, which again drives a lot of Shadow's, revenge factor. All right, my boy Ultima pulled up here saying, my theory is that Sonic is only working with the gun because they misled him that Shadow is who actually killed people on the Ark. Sonic goes to Eggman, who makes Metal Sonic with his quill as is a means to beat Shadow. When the truth is revealed, Sonic and Shadow team up to stop Metal. To explain Metal Sonic, I think he will go on a rampage that Eggman can't stop, as opposed to it being betrayal. Metal serves as a great foil for Shadow here. Metal is an emotionless weapon, which is what Shadow will become if he only lives for revenge and ignores humanity. This is a really great theory, and obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that talk about the quill and what that means for the quill that he gave Eggman here. Yeah, making Metal Sonic makes a lot of sense, and I like the idea here that instead of the Bio Lizard, we would have Metal Sonic be the foil for Shadow, seeing what kind of monster he can become. I do think the Bio Lizard is still an important component of the original SA2 story, but I think Metal Sonic would be a good way to do that. And also the first theory about, Sonic working for Gun because he's misled. Yeah, I think Gun is misleading Sonic and friends because obviously they're trying to cover up that story. It's not something that they want out there. Let's see what Torch says here. I've been saying this since they showed off Shadow in S2, but I genuinely think him turning good will be a result of JoJo. Like, the humans have been so well written and actually vital to the story, it only makes sense that she'd remind Shadow of the good in humanity. So for those of you that don't remember JoJo, that is the Rachel, the girl who got married. That's her daughter in the first movie, and that's an interesting choice, right? I mean, we didn't really see her in movie 2, so I don't know how much of an emotional impact it would be for her to be part of Shadow's story, but I could see that. I feel like my flaw with that, and issue with that, is that she's just not a character we really care about, whereas like Amy we cared about more. Even if they did someone like Maddie, being what could change Shadow, could be something interesting. But it's an interesting take. My boy Salty over here saying, my big prediction, Eggman's one condition will be to create Metal Sonic as the third act villain that Super Sonic and Super Shadow will have to team up to defeat. This could also set up Neo Metal as the main antagonist going forward instead of Eggman. See, I really wonder how that would work, because we do know like Neo Metal can speak, right, based on Sonic Heroes, but could he work as a full villain for movie 4? Unless they're going full Terminator with the plotline, which would be really awesome. I'm totally done with that idea. I just think like the idea of Neo Metal being a villain later on feels too over the top, maybe. But again, I could be wrong. And a lot of people are leaning on the Metal Sonic thing. But I'd be shocked if they did it just because, like, one, that would be a really cool hidden thing at this point. You know, we've seen so many toys out there that I feel like we would have heard of it. But they've saved crazier shit. I mean, we didn't even know Supersonic was going to be in movie 2. So who knows what they're hiding from us. Okay, my boy Sholov over here saying my only correct theory. So this is kind of a shot in the dark, but what if they use this movie to expand on Knuckles and the Echidna story? My theory is that the gang will be like, yeah, this Shadow guy's too strong, and Knuckles suggests powering the Master Emerald, because keep in mind, they just have that in the cooler at the end of movie 2. So Knuckles takes them to the island where the Echidnas may have held the Emerald where they had it, and it ends up being Angel Island. That's where they expand a bit on the Knuckles backstory, and maybe we even get to see the mural from Sonic 3 and Knuckles that could connect to Shadow and the Biolizard if it's in the movie. And maybe at the end of the Knuckles decides to become the official guardian and stay there on the island with the Master Emerald. That's something not a lot of people are talking about, right? The Master Emerald is nowhere to be seen in the trailer, and we know it was with them at the end of movie 2, right? And so what's gonna be the expansion of that plot line? And I do like the idea that at the end of this movie, the gang might have to separate, right? And if that means, you know, Knuckles being on Angel Island protecting the Master Emerald, if that means Sonic going back to his own planet to do something, if Tails is going on his own, I don't know. But I like the idea of them expanding a bit more on the Echidna tribe and Knuckles a little bit here. Let's talk about the big one. Fabi over here says Tom wearing the gun uniform, it's going to make Shadow think if the theory of one of his relatives was the one who shot Maria's in the past is true, it's actually him and will hurt him. That's why in the second picture, they look concerned. That'll explain Sonic being so pissed by him. So yeah, this is the big conversation theory that's been going on online. Everyone's like, what is the face of Tom, right? We have the shot in the trailer where he goes, Sonic! And, you know, you have this shot of the gang looking really upset. You have the Shadow looking extremely pissed. The moment where Sonic's saying, what did you do? And that's leading to a lot of conversations of what's going to happen to Tom. You know, some people think he's straight up going to die. Some people think there's going to be a fake out. Some people think that Shadow's just going to get revenge on him. Maybe not because he thinks it was him, but maybe know he was related to him and take something that was taken from him in some way. But I don't know. My theory and my thought process, I think killing Tom might be a little bit extreme. Not that I don't think they could do it or that it would be raw, but I don't know. I feel like the most they would do is probably do a fake out with Tom's death, and, you know, he gets gravely injured, and that's why Sonic is so sad. You know, that's why, you know, they're in London upset. Maybe he's in a hospital at that point. That's him wanting to get his revenge. That's him being like, I can't let this happen. This Shadow dude has gone too far. We need to stop him. Shout out to Crystal over here. The reason why Gerald is alive is because this portal is actually chaos control that lets you go back in time, like in Sonic 06, and Shadow forms to see Maria again. Of course, time travel has been a theory. You know, the trailer ended with Gerald Robotnik, which just caused a lot of people to wonder what's going on here. You know, unless the guy's 100 years old, it makes a lot of sense. There's only two real theories that make sense. Either it's a gag bit where Eggman is hallucinating, kind of like how Pachamac was a hallucination in the Knuckles show, or there's some time travel shenanigans going on here, which is heavily possible. Channel Pup over here saying what a lot of people have been talking about is, I think a character is definitely hidden to the right of the shot. Whether it's Amy or Shadow or somebody else, it is an oddly asymmetrically framed shot in the trailer that it is a full of beautifully composed shot. Yeah, people a lot are talking about this trailer like it looks like there's a spot missing here. I don't know. Like, this is obviously the fun of these videos is discussing these theories. I do feel definitely that sort of stretched feeling there, but I don't know, man. I don't see why Amy would be such a hidden factor. I know she'd be a surprise, but is she a surprise to the point that we'd have to hide her like until, what, a month of the marketing potentially, or a month and a half away from the movie coming out? I don't know. And it being Shadow here would be kind of crazy. I mean, that would imply that this is truly the last bit of the movie, maybe, and they're going to stop Gerald or what's going on in the arc. But yeah, I don't think that Amy is there. I see what people mean, and it does seem like someone could be there, but I don't know. I'm not on board with the Amy theory, but even I want her so badly in the movie. Well, Randy is saying what seems to be a common thread here is probably already obvious to most people, but Gunn is 100% lying to Team Sonic about Shadow, his origins and intentions. In the trailer, Sonic calls Shadow a rogue alien on the loose. While they could have definitely tweaked his origins for the movie, I don't think that's the case. I think Gunn lied to Sonic and Co. about Shadow being an alien that was discovered by the government, experimented on, and went on a rampage rampage that killed scientists. Later in the film, Sonic figures out Shadow's true origins, that he was an alien that was created by Gerald, and that his colleagues but here's my issue with this theory is, in the trailer, don't we hear that the Olive Garden gun guy tells Sonic explicitly, like, you know, where you got family and friends, Shadow only experienced pain and loss. And that's what confuses me about that. Is like, either Gunn is lying, and the Olive Garden guy, you know, is the one who tells them the truth, or I misheard that voice. But I'm pretty sure the guy telling Sonic that is the, you know, the Olive Garden guy, which would make Gunn lying to Sonic feel a little weird, no? My theory is Sonic's quill has great value to Eggman, and Sonic ends up giving a quill which boom metal Sonic. This is also an act of desperation, as when Tails says this is a bad idea, Sonic snaps out of character for him, mainly after getting Tomer, but Eggman makes metal. Yeah, I think the more I think about it, the more that scene, you know, where they're standing looking upset and Sonic said, when has that ever stopped me? This is a bad idea. I do think that is after Tom gets heavily injured, because why else would they look so sad and defeated unless Tom really did feel some kind of mega pain? My boy Ace over here saying there's definitely going to be a moment at the third act of the movie where Gerald finally shows how far gone he is compared to Eggman, and Eggman has to face that despite finally finding his family, and his role model has no problem killing his grandson for the sake of Maria. Yeah, I feel like obviously a lot of people are getting, you know, caught in the bit where, you know, he's laughing with Eggman and smiling with him, but I don't think he realizes how crazy Gerald might be, you know, and he might be the big bad of the movie working alongside Shadow, right? That's a possibility in here. But yeah, I don't think that they're gonna be buddy the entire movie. Like, it's either gonna be Eggman completely fucks over Gerald, or Gerald's gonna completely fuck over Eggman. This is just in their nature. They are evil people in a lot of ways, so I think there's gonna be some switch-uperia going on here. Over here says, I feel like the final fight will Live and Learn. Either new cover will be between Super Sonic and Super Shadow. Might not happen, but I can dream. Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be a big question mark I ask you throughout this, is like, what is going to be the big bad of arc, you know, act 3? Are we getting Super Sonic versus Super Shadow, which would be phenomenal and like one of the first times we ever see that, or are we looking at something where they work together for, you know, to stop the arc, to stop Gerald, right? Or is this going to be the Bio Lizard, Metal Sonic? We have no idea what's going on in act 3 of this movie. Yeah, I've answered this a few times, but yeah, what if Shadow does something to Tom, sparking Sonic to fight back? Now, what kind of fight back would Sonic be in? Because I don't see Sonic being the evil type, but I could see Sonic get that glimpse, right? That little feeling of revenge, right? Because Sonic hasn't experienced loss. You know, actually, that's not true. He did lose his mother at a young age, but yeah, I wonder if he's gonna start feeling revenge, because that's something he hasn't felt yet. And maybe that's gonna be a moment, you know, that snaps him. That's sort of my thought, is there could be a moment where Sonic snaps a little bit, but I don't see him losing himself. That's not really Sonic. So yeah, when we're done here, there won't be anything left of the line no one's really talking about either. Yeah, so I believe Shadow is working with Gerald. Gerald is gonna work with Eggman, but they end Eggman, and Gerald won't see eye to eye because Eggman doesn't want to destroy the world. He wants to rule. SA2 ending, but different. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Shadow does say that line that when we are done here, there won't be anything left, which implies he's working with someone, and we know he's not working with God, nor is he working with Eggman. So it only makes sense that he's working with Gerald, unless, you know, him and Eggman and Gerald towards the end of the movie both have a chokehold on Shadow in some way. I think he is working with Gerald Robotnik. So no possible way Amy or Rouge are in the movie, except post-credits maybe. Metal Sonic could be a possible surprise rival. Robotnik stays good, and Gerald is the one to betray him. The big flying ship from the trailer is the movie's space colony arc, Wade turned Super. I love the last line. I think the Wade turning Super is most likely, but this is something I forgot and didn't point out in my analysis video. We do straight up see the arc in this trailer. There's a shot where Tails is jumping out of a ship. You could see the shape of the arc in the back, so it literally is there, and it depends, you know, what they're gonna do with it, but that's gonna probably be towards the end of the movie, and we're seeing Tails jump out of it while Knuckles is standing in the back, and I'm theorizing that that's gonna be the scene where Sonic is falling down in the pod and Tails is gonna go try to get him. Matoy says, my friend group and I have been theorizing that Eggman's encounter with Gerald is either a hallucination or a spirit situation, in a similar vein to how Pachamac was a ghost in the Knuckles show. I mean, yeah, it's a different one. I don't think they're gonna do the Pachamac vision, because to be honest, I think that was really stupid, and I think they do care a little bit more about these movies than they do about how they handled the Knuckles show. Not to say that it's bad, but I just think a character as important as Gerald, not that Apache Mac is important, but I don't think he's gonna be, you know, a spirit situation. I could see hallucination though, but I don't know, because then I just think about what Shadow said about when we're done here. So who could he be talking about? Silent Sage says, my prediction is that they're going to adapt Tails Sonic Adventure 1 character arc with him wanting to not rely so much on Sonic and stand out on his own in movie 3. Yeah, I do think they do need a bit of a plot thread for Tails, because in movie 2, you know, like it was them being friends, but it quickly feels like Tails gets sidelined as like the player 2 once, you know, Knuckles pulls up or when they're working together at the end, right? Whereas, yeah, I do think one of the plot elements that they might explore for Tails in this movie is, you know, his role in the grander scheme of things and what he wants to do to stand out a bit more. And I think that's going to lead to that shot of him going to save Sonic when he jumps out of the arc over there at the end. Gerald being alive is actually the catalyst for Shadow's motivation. He manipulates Shadow into believing Maria's still alive per leaks apparently, and Shadow will work with Gerald to activate the arc, which is Gerald's real goal. Obviously, this puts him at odds with Team Sonic, and eventually somehow they'll remember Maria and will go against Gerald. Also explains why Eggman will work with Team Sonic. Gerald wants to outright destroy the world while Eggman wants to rule it, and you can't rule a planet that's destroyed. Yeah, that's always been a big plot point, you know, with Eggman, is he wants to rule the world above anything else. And the arc theory is looking more and more sensical. I don't think Gerald is a hallucination. The more I think about it, yeah, I think Gerald, now that we know that the arc is actually in the movie, I do think Gerald is involved with that. This is his way of getting revenge on humanity. He's like, you know what, bro? Fuck it. You guys ruined my life and everything I was doing in my work. I'm nuking this planet, and that's going to lead to the rivalry, you know, the fight back against him. Here we go. Robotnik ended up mistakenly time traveling when he met Gerald, which would explain why he's alive. In current time, Gerald died alone in the arc after going insane. As such, at some point, Robotnik will end up learning how to time travel himself and unsurprisingly betray Sonic. Yeah, this was an old, for those of you that don't know, this was like an old concept art that pulled up a long time ago for this movie. If I can like scroll it over here, this is like, you know, it's this art piece pulled up, and that's probably Gerald's body. This is the lab where Shadow is born. So yeah, I mean, there's, I don't know, obviously I do think there's a possibility of some timeline shenanigans, especially, you know, with chaos control being a thing and all that. So it's definitely possible that they do something with that. It's not my favorite plot element to introduce time travel, because you know what that can imply for movies, but if they handle it well, it won't be that bad. Ular says there's an elaborate dream sequence where Agent Stone imagines himself as the nuclear housewife coded partner for his husband Robotnik. He tends to the killer robot child before being rudely snapped back from distraction. Yes. If Gerald isn't a hallucination and actually survived the gun raid in this telling, safe to assume that Gerald was telling Shadow to wipe out Gun in Maria's name, Gun exclusively, since he didn't perceive Team Sonic as a threat at first when he had his back turned. And that is true. Like we did see in the trailer that like Shadow is walking away from Team Sonic until Knuckles goes for the punch. So I don't even think he cares nor sees them as a threat. I think he has a goal, and he's just going to stop anyone who gets in his way to stop it. Simon says the credits singer will tease Sonic CD inspired adaptation with Amy and Metal Sonic. That's also a possibility. You know, we don't know what they're doing, and I think Amy and Metal Sonic go more hand in hand than people realize. Obviously, they were both introduced in Sonic CD, right? And so it makes sense to have them both be in the same storyline. But my question is just like, how do you make a character like Metal Sonic as threatening as, you know, a lot of the characters or the characters that have been introduced? I mean, I really like Metal, but they'd have to do something crazy with him. Robotnik uses time travel because Sonic tells him to, since they want to know exactly what happened with Shadow, or they want to know how to stop him. Robotnik meets his grandpa. His grandpa tells him how to operate the machine and use it to threaten the world, but Robotnik doesn't know that it'll actually kill everyone. Therefore, he won't have anyone to rule over. Yeah, the time travel theory, the more I'm reading about it, the more it seems possible, you know, including what people are saying are potentially, you know, like rumors or leaks or stuff. I don't know. It's something that could possibly be done, and I think they could handle it with enough grace. How do you get the motorcycle up there? He's him. I don't know what else to tell you, bro. I mean, I get the guy can fucking teleport with a motorcycle, so I feel like the least of his problems are him being able to slide over the side of a building with it. This is also a good point by Garo. I think Gerald is going to know that Maria wanted peace for humanity, is going to intentionally hide it from Shadow to keep him on his side and cause more damage. Eventually, slip up and reveal that he knew the whole time. See, this is where I think maybe potentially the time theory, you know, the time travel theory might pull up, where Shadow might actually see what Maria stood for. You know, something will happen that'll jog Shadow's memory to be like, wait, what the fuck am I doing? You know, this is not what she wanted, and I feel anger towards Gerald for causing this, you know, and that's where it's going to be the big fighting plot point. I think, like I said, the more and more we're reading about this, the more I don't think at all that the Gerald thing is a hallucination. I think he is going to be the mega big bad alongside Eggman. And yeah, lack of conversation around the explosion over here. Let's see what a guy name says here. Just Shadow's constant warping around causes black holes to form. Tom is sent through one of these early on, which leads Sonic teaming up with Robotnik, thinking he lost his father figure. Bonus theory that Shadow's unstable powers play a part in Maria's death. I could see that, you know, the idea of Shadow might have caused, you know, Maria's death with how much power he had in, you know, in his vault, causing maybe the explosion in the lab. But yeah, I do think the black hole thing is something we haven't talked about. It might be an issue caused due to time travel. It might be something because chaos control is being used. I don't really know, but it does look like a late game scene for this. I mean, it could be in the middle, but this looks like something that happens late in the movie where they feel hopeless and something is going to save them. Just an idea how this scene will turn out. We have a fight scene under the rain, most likely a 1v1 confrontation with Sonic and Shadow. The rain gives us a big dramatic effect, telling us that this is a much more serious fight. Shadow must have done something to Sonic, and now Sonic is a more aggressive state. Shadow is also smirking in this shot, indicated that he's enjoying the fight. How dark they'll go for this, I have no idea, but this looks like a pretty intense scene. This is a pretty fucking intense scene. I mean, everything about this, from like the what I had to line, which I don't think is from this shot due to the way his like lips move in the trailer. I don't think they sync to that, but there is going to be probably a big 1v1 between Sonic and Shadow. I don't think that first scene in Tokyo is going to be it. I think that's going to be part one of their fight, but there is going to be a run back later on, and that's going to be their big intense moment before they have to do something together. Yeah, everyone seems to be in agreement. Yeah, Gerald is the real villain of the movie, working secretly on the Eclipse cannon and unleashes the Biolizard. If there's no Amy, I think Maddie will confront Shadow from destroying the world. Maddie is a kind-hearted, and Side Movie 1 said she is good with animals. I mean, yeah, we haven't talked about this, but like I feel like Maddie as a character has been pushed as, you know, a very important person in, you know, not only his Team Sonic size, but just the characters in general. And I think what they could do with her is she could kind of be the Amy of the movie. I mean, obviously I would love Amy in the movie, but if someone's gonna be like kind-hearted and caring and maybe be able to change Shadow or show him a different way of life, it would be Maddie, especially if Tom gets injured. I don't think she's just gonna be sidelined. I think she's gonna want to be involved in some way or another. Hot take, I think the movie will end with a cliffhanger, and the Sonic 4 movie will essentially be Sonic 3 movie part 2. Shadow Heroes arc won't be fully realized until the next movie drops. I don't think that's the case. As cool as it would be for more Shadow, more story, I do think they probably have an idea for a start end of this plot line. I feel like we would have known by now if this was going to be like a big part 1, part 2 type saga. Obviously, there's going to be some plot lines that are going to need some resolutions later on, but I don't think this is going to be part 1, part 2. But hey, this is a take, so we'll see what happens. I think the opening will be this scene. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. If I was to talk about the sequences of the movie from the trailer we saw, and obviously let me know what you guys think. I think it's going to start, you know, with the past, right? Shadow, Maria's interactions, life on the Ark, right? We're going to see the accident. We're going to get a cut to Team Sonic for a little bit. Then it's going to go into Shadow escaping Prison Island, and that's going to lead them to getting their mission from Gun, the fight in Tokyo, right, leading to whatever happens next with working with Eggman, into whatever, you know, the big final story arc stuff is going to end up being. Samantha, this is not really a theory prediction. What the fuck is up with Gerald being alive? Not because he was killed in Adventure 2, but also because of his old age shouldn't have gone up to this point if they changed the plot. My guess is that this significantly aged him down, so he was a lot younger when he created Shadow. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of where I think the time travel stuff we've been talking about for a bit is going to play into factor. Because, yeah, I mean, the Ark, he was old 50 years ago when he got executed. And again, unless he is suddenly like hella young back then when he first made Shadow, maybe he was like in his 15, 20s. I mean, maybe he'd have to be 20 years oldish. Then maybe now he'd be like 70 or 80. But he had Maria, didn't he? Who's I don't even want to know what the conversation point would be. But yeah, he'd have to either be extremely old or there's some time travel. Yeah, this is a good point, right? That, you know, it does look like Shadow is powering something over here, right? You see this wall, this matches sort of this area he's in, and I could see like Shadow spinning around in circles over here, powering this giant generator to create a portal to the past to maybe, you know, go see Maria from back then or cause some crazy shit. This is interesting. I think Team Sonic is gonna fail to stop Shadow at first, like we see, and Gunn puts all of Shadow's crimes on them to keep him from being public info, leading Team Sonic being on the run from the government and only having teaming up with Eggman as the last option. I kind of fuck with that idea. I like the idea that the government's like, yo, we cannot have it known that this is their fault. We're just gonna blame, you know, these guys and make them public enemy number one, which is the only reason I really feel like Sonic and friends would go see Eggman, because like where else would they turn to? Well, this is a good one. This one isn't really a theory, but I think the scene where Thomas screams Sonic isn't about him being killed. I think this is the scene where Eggman launches Sonic into space, where Eggman tries to kill him. And I say too, that's a very, very good point. I can 100% see that being the case, where this is when Sonic gets launched downwards, followed by, you know, Tails potentially jumping out of the arc to save him. You know, originally the Gun Commander was a kid during the arc incident and grew up hating Shadow. Well, in the movies, our Gun Commander's older, old enough to be an adult on the arc, an officer even. My bet is that Walt is actually responsible for Maria's death. That would, dude, wouldn't that be a fucking crazy wrench in here if the whole time Olive Garden guy was responsible for Maria's death and he's gotta be the one to get kicked? That's kind of crazy. Sonic will have a moment where he loses his will to fight based on how defeated he looks in this shot. Yeah, I guess he does look really sad. I don't like that at all. But yeah, this could be one of those moments where Sonic's like, you know, I let my friends get hurt, I let you guys get captured, and I don't know what to do. And that's gonna be, you know, the big moment where Knuckles and Tails step it up over here to try to help him get him out of the funk. Hover says, I think 3 is just the start of time travel, Gerald in the present, and the post credits will be something 06 related. Silver looking for Sonic, thinking he's the Iblis Sugar, Silver looking for Knuckles, Flames of Disaster, and Mephiles teaser tying into Shadow somehow. That's a lot, but yeah, I mean, if they introduce time travel in this movie, that is 100% meaning Silver is gonna show up at some point. I mean, that's gonna be the big thing, and I think that means movie 4, whatever they do next, could be could you imagine like an insane modernized adaptation of 06's story, but like, you know, what it would be like in today's society, how they'd handle, I don't know, that'd be kind of fucking crazy. It is a little off the walls though. This is something I realized last tonight, that there's a lot of shots in the trailer where the camera zooms in on Shadow's face. I think it has some visual significance. Maybe it fades into a flashback scene each time, unless I'm wrong and there has to be something cool or something be right. I mean, I don't know, this to me just, you know, how each character has like their eyes light up during some moment. I think that's kind of how Shadow is. I think it's just when he's angry or about to do something crazy, the eyes light up. But I can see your theory going through somehow. Sonic is going to turn Shadow around. After Shadow attacks Tom, there's going to be some back and forth between the two, leading Shadow's morale to turn. Then the Robotniks will betray Shadow, interrupting the moment. So you obviously have Sonic with the long claw, and you have, you know, Shadow with Maria. They have both experienced loss in this universe, which I think is going to be an important factor over here, because I do think in the end of this movie, and I think we all know this, is like Shadow is gonna live. There's no world where they go, you know, with even what happens in Sonic movie 2, or sorry, in Sonic Adventure 2, where they like fake out Shadow's death. I think we will see Shadow alive, but the difference is he's not gonna stick around with the gang. He's gonna go do his own thing. He's gonna go find his purpose, and he's gonna dip. All right, Din Crystal says, this is my prediction. I think the one who's gonna be talking to Shadow, since Amy isn't going to be in the movie, would be Tom. I know people speculated that it'd be Jojo, but besides being around the same age as Maria, she hasn't had any other significance in the movies besides one scene that was back in the first movie. Tom would be a more fitting choice to have that big talk with Shadow, since he's always tried his best to lead Sonic in the right direction. He can do the same for Shadow if he sees how deeply troubled Shadow is saying. I like that idea. I think that's a really cool way to sort of make Tom feel much more important, because so far he's been like, you know, a father figure to Sonic right now, and I think having a much bigger role, not only like push up his impact in the series, but I think it's something that would, I think, make a lot of us happy, and I'd be down for that. I mean, I really like Tom as a character, so making him one that could maybe talk to Shadow and put things into perspective would be really good. Shadow fights Sonic and Eggman. Eggman uses Sonic's power while Sonic uses the Master Emerald. Eggman secretly pretends to be down Sonic, and Shadow fight. Eggman gets the DNA of the hedgehogs. Then Shadow works with Sonic to take Eggman down with Supersonic. Obviously, you know what's crazy is like not a single person has mentioned the Chaos Emeralds at all, really. You know, some people have mentioned the Master Emerald, which could be a power-up, but we do know that the Chaos Emeralds are spread after, you know, the Supersonic scene in 2. So I think this movie is going to either have Shadow going around the world with Gerald grabbing the Chaos Emeralds, which makes the most sense. He has Chaos Control, and he probably has some sort of technology or tech with Gerald, right? Or he will have already gathered them by the beginning of the movie, and we have no idea. But regardless, I mean, I don't think that, you know, they're not just gonna have the Chaos Emerald locations or, you know, things explained. I think there is gonna be a scene where Shadow either gets them or has them, but something involving the Chaos Emeralds has to happen. Analyst Dudes has a good one here. When Shadow says, when we're done here, there'll be nothing left, the we means he and Maria, that he is doing this for her. They might give him the photograph. They might give him a photograph like Shadow 5 or some memento. The ship coming from the water is a remote facility that Shadow needs to get the Ark online. And the black hole is a sample of the weapon Shadow wants online. The goal to destroy the Earth. After he's defeated, Eggman will seize the weapon, overload it, and Shadow will sacrifice himself. Inhibitor rings off to stop it. Post credits 1 is Amy Rouge finding Shadow unconscious. That's a really good one. If they technically do the Shadow, you know, death moment, but it's Amy and Rouge that find him, alongside the idea that that water facility coming out is actually, you know, what they need to power up the Ark in Shadow's causing it, would be kind of cool. Damn, my boy Prodigy feeling crazy. My theory is Neo Metal will be in the movie. I think it's safe to assumption that we will see Super Sonic and Super Shadow. I don't think Sonic and Shadow both need to go super just to beat standard Metal Sonic. He will transform. That's when we get the epic battle. Yeah, I really, dude, I mean, if there is no Bio Lizard, I don't know what would matter or what would it mean for Sonic and Shadow to go super, but oh my god, when we see that, it's over. And the last one to grab here is, I'm wondering exactly how much they aren't taking from Sonic Adventure 2. We've seen the gang fight of Shadow, we've seen Marie and Gerald, but we haven't seen any of it take place on the space colony, or the Chaos Emeralds will be involved. So I do think Chaos Emeralds are going to be involved, right? I believe we're going to have, you know, obviously Gerald and all these characters. Well, what they're not going to do, I don't think, from Sonic Adventure 2 is, one, I don't think we are going to have Amy and Rouge, sadly, right? I don't think there's going to be a hunt for the Master Emerald pieces in the same way. I don't know if Tails is even going to have his maybe robot mech. I think he might be able to build his robot mech, but I don't know. Are we going to get soap shoes in there? Some kind of, you know, new type of shoe for Sonic to wear? Are we going to get even crazier shit? Like, are we going to get City Escape? We still have no indication if we're getting City Escape or not. Okay, I want my City Escape. But yeah, there was a lot more predictions, but a lot of them, to be honest, started blending together, and I think we've covered a lot of the big ones. But of course, in my beautiful comment section below, let me know what are your theories. Which ones do you agree with here? Which ones don't you agree with? What are you most excited for? What do you think we're going to see next? And guys, I love you. Thank you all for watching. Let's lock the fuck in. Sonic Movie 3 hype is an all-time high.